So ultimately, that the service was fueled by my family, but then I had an exposure through school that showed me what hustle could do. And it was at the same school that I was exposed to business because they had Odyssey. They had an Odyssey track. Every 9 weeks, they would change the curriculum to a theme. And in that theme, they would make sure that they tied in field trips, exposures. Everything was related to that theme every 9 weeks for 3 years. So 1 year, I believe this was my 7th grade year, they opened up a communications Odyssey. I'm a communication major now. In the communications Odyssey was business development. So service, hustle from elementary school, and now you're telling me I can create a business? So I was writing business plans in the 7th grade.
Wow.
Crazy.
And then had to pitch it to the class, a fictitious business. Mine was Alcatraz. Where do I live at now? Near Alcatraz.
That's crazy.
No, so I'm just saying the providential aspect of like my journey, it all connected.
Yeah.
So the reality, and then there was a whole nother Odyssey called communities. We were getting graded from building cities in SimCity.
That was part of the curriculum?
That was the curriculum. You had to build a thriving, flourishing city, and it had to continue to grow or you would fail the class.
This is just disgusting.
Wow.
It is, man. It's crazy because my heart really hurts for our kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When it comes to education, my heart really hurts for like going back to school, because I remember just going back to when I was in high school.
Yeah.
We had home ec. We had, you know what I'm saying? There were so many things that we had. We had home ec. We had auto shop. We had woodwork. You know what I'm saying? We had intro to technology. We had you had the kids that did the agriculture. We had a whole farm on Armio.
I did that too.
On Armio.
Agriculture science.
I mean, like seriously, like, we had all these different things that would give us some type of exposure to like trades or whatever the case may be. And now it's like things have been cut. They've been dispersed through different schools. Like one school will have this over here, and you won't. If you go to this school over here, you'll never be exposed to that over there. And it's sickening to me to think that all of these opportunities that these kids could have, that they're basically being deprived. So hearing your story and just hearing what you explained, just your upbringing, obviously education has always been something that's
right,
near and dear to your heart. My question to you would be is in all honesty, how realistic or possible do you believe that bringing something like what it is that you were exposed to, as far as like these odysseys, these different programs that you had during your education, being able to do something like that here in our community?
I don't think that it's impossible. And truth be told, I've actually said this in several board meetings, because I even tell them my role in public service was tied to an odyssey in my middle school. Civics. They took us to City Hall. We met people. I mean, my destiny today, I actually still am in contact with some of my teachers through Facebook, and I talk to them. I'm like, and some of them are like really emotional about the fact that they remember, and the very things that they taught, I have executed at different milestones in life. Mm-hmm. And it's like sometimes it's like freaky. It's like, how you go to a school that give you 9 weeks of exposure, this, and you are doing all of it. Like you've done almost all of it. Like flight.
Yeah.
There was an Odyssey on flight. We had to develop airplanes on blueprints. How I end up in the Air Force?
Yeah.
Communities. The second part of that class was building model homes out of foam core. Had to build the house, erect it, and make it to where you could remove the layers and show that you put in the walls, kitchen, second level, staircase with X-Acto knives and foam core.
Disgusting.
So I actually reached out to some of my classmates because I was, at one point, I was like, am I the only person that's experiencing this?
Bro, you like the closest to Forrest Gump I've ever been. Like, I feel like this is a Forrest Gump story.
But I reached out to some classmates in that group, which we're the class of 99 through that school district. Most of us are thriving.
Wow, I was about to ask that. Yeah.
There's few that didn't make it. You know, there's always a couple people that just really didn't grab it and they was focused on the wrong thing. But we got attorneys, we got people that are musicians that travel and perform. That's their livelihood. Like, I have one gentleman, he's a musician. We were in band together. I was a drum major in band, marching band.
What did I just say, bro? Forrest Gump.
But I was running.
But when I look at all that, it's like, and I talk again, that's probably the most connected that I am with people is that group from middle school.
Wow.
And it's because, I mean, we went camping together in middle school for the Animals Odyssey. They took us out to a ranch.
That's crazy.
And then we had to go out and pour molds and determine what animals was out there and bring it back and research and do reports and all this stuff. Like, where do you get this exposure?
What middle school was this?
Carver Academy, but unfortunately it burned last year right before the beginning of school.
What?
Luckily, crazy, I was board president out here for the school district. And then I think that some of this stuff kind of got to me because then I'm like, the very thing that produced me, I can no longer go back and see. Because every time I went home, I would go back to the school and walk the halls.
Wow.
I would go back and just, we had custom, and I think what was hurtful about the school being burned, and I don't know if it was burned intentionally because there was some racial stuff going on, and that was a historical black school. My father graduated from that school. So it's a sentimental piece. So when I would go back, I would walk the halls because we were the first class when the school was reopened after it had been closed for a couple of decades. We were the first new graduating 6th, 7th, and 8th graders for the first time in forever.
Wow.
But they gave us custom tiles that we were able to design, and they stayed permanent. And when I went back for my 20-year high school graduation reunion, I went back there, and the tiles were still there. So it was kind of like one of those things where it's like I would go back because I needed to remember my root. But also when I went back, I would go back to every house I lived in.
Let me ask you something real quick. These, like, to hear about this and to hear that you're one person, you know, who's been affected, and it was a whole class. You guys were like the X-Men. Everybody,
Right.
everybody got their own superpowers. What it sound like. No, these teachers and the staff, like, these were people on purpose.
Correct.
Like, they truly had to believe that what they were doing mattered, and they had to believe and see the value in investing in the youth. Like, what do you think it was about that, like, that staff?
They were given the freedom to produce what they thought would make us successful.
Okay, there you go. Wow.
They developed their own curriculums.
Wow.
Like, there was no curriculum when they opened that school.
Wow.
We were the guinea pigs in 6th grade.
Wow.
And they selected, I don't remember how big the class was. I have to go look at the yearbook because I have all 3 yearbooks still. The 6th grade class of that year, was handpicked from elementary schools throughout the district. We were selected to go to that school. There was no like, oh, you graduating elementary school, you're gonna go to this school because that's the school you're supposed to go to. No, it was called G.W. Carver first because it was a 6th grade only center because they didn't know if it was gonna succeed. And when we flourished, they added 7th grade the next year, and they were kind of like, let's see if the new 6th graders repeat what you guys did, and let's see what you do in 7th. Blew it out of water again. All right, let's expand it to 8th grade. Now you got a full school. We're like the upperclassmen of this school that has experienced everything that they all are about to experience. And once it was all said and done, the school kept flourishing until the school district got involved and started trying to tweak it. And then a lot of the teachers left.
All right. So getting back to Donald's question, you say staff had the freedom to be creative, to create a curriculum. How much of a possibility, if any at all, is that in our school district?
Huge challenge today. Huge challenge. This isn't, I'm giving you the raw, uncut, what I think, which may not be necessarily accurate, but it's how I feel. So the reason why you can't give freedoms today is because too many people are way out of control. You got to think that was a 90s situation where things were a little bit different.
Right.
People actually cared. Like, your teacher was like your mom or dad at school almost.
Right.
And they'd be like, oh, you want me to call? Hold on one second. You know, you're like, no, don't call.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I can't really say, this is really challenging to say. As a mentor on campus at Rod for a decade, the one thing that I always felt the absence of was mentorship from the teacher as the observer. And the reason why I would not sleep at night, work night shift at the prison, get off at 6 a.m., shower, eat something, and go straight to the school because I felt that I was the intervention or the opportunity to provide the gap.
Youth Intercept.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then that's what birthed Youth Intercept. Juvenis Intercepe in Latin, to go in between two things and redirect. So that was the drive then. And then while doing that, I would leave the school only to go eat, to go to juvenile hall, and then try to reach the kids that didn't make it. So I would be in a pod at juvenile hall for about an hour talking to a whole group. And some of those kids are mentees of mine today because of the exposure. Some of them I lost. Some of them passed away due to gun violence and different things. But I have letters that they wrote me that I go back every now and again to be reminded of, like, this is what's possible just by being the light in a dark place.
You talked about, having like outside mentors. You talked about having teachers that cared. All of us are in some form or some way are in ministry in our local church. How can we, as people that work in ministry, equip families to, just using you as the example, equip families to pour into our kids better? Because sometimes families are ill-equipped to help raise their kids.
I'm about to say something really controversial. This came up today. I'm not sure where it came from, so no one's ever heard this before. It came up today for me. There has to be...
Preface it like that.
No, listen, this is probably about to be real heavy because I've never said this before, and it just all made sense today. Literally, probably about 2 hours ago. My mom was not equipped to handle any of what my destiny would be. Ain't no way possible. Which speaks to why my grandmother intervened all the time. Because she understood. And I'm not sure if it was just God's way of revealing, like, hey, look, you need to go get your grandson. This ain't gonna work. But my grandmother, again, was the bridge that gave me the opportunity to, like, I believe I received so much rejection in life that when I found my path, I killed it. Because everything else said no. When I say literally 2 hours ago, I had this like fast forward through life moment because I kept wondering like why is this like unicornish? Like why is it that no one seems to understand this aspect of me per se? And it's because I had to endure rejection in every aspect of my life to include ministry. To reflect on being an accidental birth. What does that mean? Like, this wasn't planned, but I'm here. And because it wasn't planned, that means you're not committed. Because this isn't what you wanted. You'll do the minimum to make it work. But do I deserve the minimum or do I deserve the best? Crazy that I said drum major. I remember trying out to be lead drum major and kept getting denied, but was well more equipped than the person that got it. Like, dang, I'm out here killing it. Can't get it. Military, Germany. Didn't get to promote early as senior airman below the zone because someone had an issue with me in leadership just because they had a personal issue. Rejected. Still got it later, but as scheduled. Ministry. All this youth advocacy, but can't reach out to serve youth in my own church per se. And this isn't a slight at my church, but I really believe that God has a way of using all these moments of rejection, all the no's, all the what you can't do, that when the door does open, it's like the Kentucky Derby. You want to say off to the races. You just gave me a lane, and I'm gone.
WD-40.
Don't drop the reference.
40 no's. No, wasn't that? It was 40 no's, right?
Yeah.
Or that WD-40 was the 40th one? That was it, right?
Yeah, bro.
I probably butchered that.
Terrible.
No, but so Jay, because it sounds like a lot of this is causing you to go back and be able to dig through and make some sense of some stuff that you probably just also had to talk through. But would you say in regards to how we can equip families to pour into like the youth and the generation of today?
There isn't really a way. It's things. I mean, I really dislike town hall meeting. We're gonna have a town hall meeting and talk about this, but really, it need to be like these village conversations.
There we go.
Where people that really understand what's wrong, or at least have an idea of what can possibly work, to come to the table. Why is there a gentleman down the street? I just met him, maybe like 2 weeks ago. Share with me. He's like a corporate realtor. They do commercial property. Mm-hmm. He's gotten with some of the team at the school district and is doing partly what my middle school did for me, but as a private company. See where I'm going with this? Mm. There's opportunities for us to recreate and reproduce, but no one wants to invest in it.
Okay. Got it.
We can go put money into $1 billion stadium, but we can't educate the people that's going to fill it. Mm. We can sell out a concert venue. Hear somebody sing for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Pay $500 a ticket. And then complain why society is deteriorating. When you could take all that same money and say, let's look at it from this sense. School district only gets so much money based upon the state and how many students are in active attendance, right? That's a simple way of saying it. What that means is we're always going to be limited based upon capacity. That's why, like even right now, Measure S, a bond, $249 million. Infrastructure, why? Schools are aging. Most of these schools in Fairfield Sassoon built in 1950, between 1950 and 1970. And we still trying to do 22nd century work in building that was only designed for pencil, paper, maybe tablet. But you have an entire community that somehow doesn't embrace, oh, I don't have kids in the district anymore. Yeah, you do. Got 20 plus thousand kids in the district. That's in your village.
Right.
Mm.
Your neighbors.
Your neighbor's kids, your neighbor's
Who
grandchildren.
is my neighbor?
Right.
That part.
Who is my neighbor?
Who is that? So when you look at that, it's like until people come to a place where they realize like we control the barometer of what our students will experience, it's not even really just the family's fault. It's the community's fault. It ain't the board fault, because that's the first place they come in. Y'all, kids ain't graduating. Well, what are you doing? Only time I've seen you is when there's a problem. Did you go down there and talk to them? Oh, I'm the only one that can, because I'm on the board. Okay, got you. But I think that there's the personal responsibility of families to say, I mean, it's even the personal responsibility to even acknowledge that I can't do it. Or I don't understand.
What type of training does the school district do for the faculty in helping to equip them to be to take on like a mentorship type role with the students outside of just teaching them whatever the curriculum is?
We do professional development. I can't speak. Each site has their own kind of like professional development, and they can kind of choose how they want to do that or collaborative time. The question is are they committed in that collaborative time to speaking to that issue? Because we can't control it. We can't control your designated training time to build together as your team. We can say, hey, you need to do it, but what you do, we can't like force that down. We have to give that space for you to say, how are you organically going to develop this cohort of teachers into just being a unified force of consistency across the board?
So it's basically the administrator of each site that has autonomy as far as...
Nair is the teacher.
Oh, okay.
Again, it's like, I guess a good example is the pastor of the church literally controls the curriculum of the church to a degree. Sunday school teachers can't teach what ain't been approved. Now, if you have this box that you're in, now what are you doing in that box in order to make what people come in to get better or worse?
Okay, so in terms of authority, what's the chain of command? How does it work?
For site level?
Just so going from, say, the main office down to...
So we got to go backwards to make it make sense.
Okay, so let's go.
So student, parent, teacher. Depending on the context, teacher, department head. Department head, APs, counseling. Principal. Principal, depending on what level of education, their supervisor, which now you've crossed into the realm of administration. Secondary education and elementary, 2 different paths, 2 different curriculums. From there, ed services, special education, student services, all depending on what your issue is. Whole barrage of departments that meet student needs at admin that feed into secondary education, which is basically middle school, high school, and then elementary education. So there's 2 tracks of education.
I got you. So how did you get into service at Rodriguez? Like, how does the average person that wants to pour into and invest into their community at the high school level get in to be able to then like mentor
Human resources.
human resources?
Human resources. State that you want to be a volunteer. Live scan clearance. Once that's done, connect with the principal. Find out how you can serve.
Okay, got you. And then outside of that, another way is maybe we trying to see if you can become like a noon duty or campus monitor.
You can apply.
Okay.
That's a job.
Yeah, that's a job.
Right. Okay. But campus monitors.
Speaking of which, I believe tomorrow is it tomorrow? I think I got a text message by chance that the school district is
Hiring.
They're having like a fair.
Yep.
Let's see. Yes, Fairfield Suisun Unified School District. If you're interested in joining Fairfield Suisun Unified School District team, there will be a job fair tomorrow at 2490 Hillborn Road from approximately 3:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m.
Jonathan's the one that sent the text. No.
I'm like, hey Siri, send this over here.
Donald Johnson.
And then what are the what are the hours typically that a volunteer can be on campus if cleared?
School hours.
School hours.
School hours, huh?
You can stay all day.
So really,
Right, you can sleep out in the field overnight
Dang.
if you want to.
So I guess at that point it really just comes down to an individual who sees value or finds value in investing in the youth.
Which today I'm not going to, I went to school, the generation today, going to give you a run for your money. And that's our fault. We let them get that far. Where like they challenge, I mean, you thought adults were a problem. Well, the adults that's the problem got children.
People that think they adults.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just you want to make the commitment. There's nothing that stops it.
Yeah.
You get clear, you can go collaborate, volunteer, find out how you can serve, help. Just not enough of that.
Yeah.
The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few, always.
Huh.
And if you think about it, as diverse of a district as we have, let me rephrase it. As we are continuing to expand diversity in the district, the easiest way to make sure students see people that look like them is when people volunteer that look like them, that partner that look like them, that serve that look like them, that provide perspective that look like them, and that choose to show the value of, okay, I may be of a different race or ethnicity, but I can reach out to this student because I understand what they're dealing with. And now what does that give you? A different worldview. Gives you opportunity to open up to another culture. I remember being on campus one day and a student, like literally the timing couldn't have been any better, ran out of a room and was calling a teacher racist. Now, unfortunately, I probably overstepped my boundary because the kid was supposed to go to office, but I did a youth intercept moment, intercepted, and went and had a seat on a bench and had a whole conversation for about 20 minutes and then walked him back to the room. Kid went back to the room, went to his desk, did the work. But I gave him a perspective. And the perspective was the teacher was describing how her parents were racist and how she didn't believe in that. The student took that hat, ran with it, and like, if your family's racist, they did this to my family, her family had nothing to do with you. Probably didn't even meet. But you created this narrative, and now you were inciting this negative behavior in the classroom.
Yeah.
And then I had to say, how would you feel if you were on the receiving end of that, where you're trying to give a contextual explanation, and then someone calls you something that you're not in front of an audience of people? And the student was like, I didn't think about that. So we're going to go back over here. I need you to apologize to her. But I also need you to make a commitment to apologize to your peers Because who did you offend in there beyond the teacher? Probably some of your peers. And then do the work that you came to school to do.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't come here for that.
Mm-hmm.
You came here for this.
Yeah. Sheesh. Yeah, definitely need that representation, man.
But teachers can't always do that. And I think that was the beauty of my role because I can say what they can't.
Right.
Not that it was anything inappropriate, but
Yeah.
I can have the conversation that's not going to take them out of their role.
Right.
So that's how I became the household name because now people that needed me to intervene, they already knew, call Brother Jay. I even had a radio on campus, radio and keys. I'm not even staff. They started saying, what class you teach?
Life.
Intervention
Life.
Intervention 101.
Rodriguez is my classroom.
This whole building.
Of the world. Crazy.
So yeah, that's the I don't know. And then you just got to have a heart for it because there's a lot of disappointment that come with it. A lot. Like I can't even tell you the emotional nights of going like, I don't know if I can do this. Like chasing kids that's running off campus, talking about they running away and having to trying to go get them because you don't know where they're going, or kids just doing like I've had my share of chasing kids. And truth be told, the ones I chased actually came out well. Like I remember the school calling me about a kid. I hadn't even really worked with them. They were like, he being disrespectful. We need help. And I went to the school. Hispanic male. I'm like, I can try. Called his mom. I'm going to bring him home. Got him almost home. He jumped out the car and ran. So I followed him for an hour in my car until he got tired of walking. Then he finally got back in the car. And then I took him home.
You know, kids be feeble these days. I remember our walk was like bare minimum back in my day.
Oh, shoot.
But no, I took him, and then now he's married, got a daughter. I was able to get him in the Job Corps because he basically dropped out of school. He didn't like it, but then he learned exposure, masonry. Now he does that as a contractor. He comes down and visits every now and again, comes show me the new car when he get it. But this is the same kid that was basically a gang member who would come to my apartment just to take a nap because he couldn't get rest anywhere else. He would come and lay across my floor, take a nap for about 20, 30 minutes, and then get up. All right, Jay, I see you. I'm like, okay, be safe. But it was those moments of access that gave him the ability to know that somebody cared. I don't think that he told me that he loved me back when I was like, hey, I love you, until after like he realized like, man, you really do care. Yeah, I want to see you thrive. I didn't want to see you fail. Right. And most of all, I didn't want to see you die. That's why I challenged. That's why I did the letter of recommendation for you to Job Corps. That's why I did that interview to talk about what I felt that you were capable of doing. And now you fast forward and you have a whole career now. Whole career, family, house, moved out of the area.
So, out of all the many hats that you wear, I heard you say, so you work, are you actively working parole right now? Mm-hmm. So, speaking of which, so what is the... Do you like have a passion for that field of work, or because you're an entrepreneur, your education is huge, you know, on your heart as far as a desire to be a part of that. What about what role does working as a parole agent, working in the field of law enforcement, corrections, peace officer, how does that tie into everything?
So, perfect segue. So, let me give y'all some real stuff. So, I never thought that I would be in law enforcement, first off. ended up in law enforcement because of my first house going into foreclosure, the recession, and I'm like, this is all bad. I need to go find a job. Went and applied for a job, got it. I was like, I don't know what this about to be. I done exhausted all other options. This is the only one that worked. Let's go. Went to the academy, 16 weeks, drove from here to Stockton every day for 16 weeks. And I remember one day, I know it was beyond halfway, I was driving home down Highway 12. Sun was setting. I turned the music off and I just asked, God, what is this? And I'm like, I need an answer because I do not understand why I'm on this path. Probably after about an hour in silence, finally I get this revelation and it was literally what I said earlier, to be a light in a dark place. I didn't get anything else. I'm like, great, light, dark place. I'm about to get beat up, So literally it was that. I was able to give inmates in state prison an opportunity to have voice and share their experiences, which fed into Youth Intercept because now I'm getting intel from the inside about what's not working at home. And when you get an inmate that says, if I had somebody like you, I would never be here.
Wow.
And you trying to hold it together when they say that, and you're like, dang, you doing 15 years.
Sheesh.
And you just said to yourself, if I had somebody like you, I wouldn't be here. Saturday, I got a text message from a parolee. I can't say his name because, I can because it's public information, but I'm not going to.
Redacted.
We just redacted that. So I got this text, just started dealing, dude just got out of jail less than 2 weeks ago. And this week I probably have spent maybe 3 or 4 hours in phone calls just getting in his head. And you gotta think about it, I got other work to do. I'm spending this much time on one. I got a whole little audience, congregation of them. And Saturday he sent me a text message. This is what he said. Thank you for everything. I feel good about this go around. You're a good agent.
Wow.
That is one of many messages. There's parolees now that have discharged. They're not even on parole anymore, and they still call and text me. Good morning. How? Or why?
Yeah.
What did I do differently? Because most of the time you're hated. As oh my God, here you come. Police come up in here. Yep. But there's a difference when you have the love of God and he says, when you have done this to the least of them, you've done it unto me. So I've never approached any moment, whether in prison, not me in prison, but me working in prison. let me preface it. That sounds kind of...
When you in there, you doing time.
You in prison.
Right, yeah.
So I recognize that myself and anybody else that works there is one step or a decision away from being in the same position.
Come on.
So to treat them like anything as if we don't have the same capability, whether we agree or disagree with their crime or offense, one decision away. So that's where my motivation came to be light in a dark place. I would tell inmates, hey, here, have your family or somebody order this book, read this book. I would even have inmates that be like, I'm getting out here. What church should I go to? And I would tell them churches they go to. Go here, go there. Here's some good places you can go. But then when you get messages from people that have been off parole for 2 or 3 years, and they're saying, hey, we just had a baby, you want to come by? Or, hey, we're due. I had somebody call me and say they having a baby that's due in a couple weeks. Ain't even on parole no more. Normally you get X'd.
Yeah.
Done with you.
I ain't opening that book again.
So, I don't want to come back to that. But I actually today, I guess today was a really reflective day today. I was thinking I should save these messages and put them in a binder or something. So whenever I'm having a bad day at work, I can be reminded like I've made a
Memorial
difference
stones,
in somebody's life that had I not, like this dude in just 2 weeks, he's been on parole for some years. How is it that I come along and now you're saying like I feel good about, like you've never felt good about parole. All of a sudden you feel like, okay, and it's because I took the time to say there's nothing stable about your life and you have access to resources, but you want to do it the hard way. Why? Couldn't answer it. And then he said, I've been thinking all week about that hour and a half talk we had. I'm ready to use these resources. And then you calling me on a regular basis, telling me like, this don't happen. So I really just believe that it's an extension of catching the folks that couldn't get caught before they got caught.
That's right.
So it's the adult school version of the Brother J way. Here you go. You got missed several phases of your life. Here's the last hope. After we got you in a position where you have to listen. So I think hopefully that answers that question. But it's not a job that I get up and excited like, oh man, I'm passionate. Because there's some people that are passionate about it and they're passionate about doing it for the wrong reason.
Right.
It's the I can't wait to see you and mess you up.
Power trip.
Would they say, trail them, nail them, then jail them?
What?
That was a strategy. Trail them, nail them, then jail them.
Wow.
And I said, you got some people that's their thing. Because we work similar backgrounds, but I don't really talk about that on here.
We ain't gonna talk about
We ain't gonna
that.
talk about
We ain't
that.
gonna make this a conference of the commissioners.
No APPAs up over here. Right. Nah.
So no, I just feel like my life has now become what stresses other people about watching me or overwhelms them is natural because of the exposures and how everything has now become interwoven. It's natural for me to do this because it's me. Josh said something to me, I don't know where it came from, but he shared it with me. You're not what you do.
Oh yeah, that was his wife.
But
I'm sharing that message from Sunday.
However, in this context, I am what I do.
Explain that. What you mean?
Because of my commitment, the passion, and what I was made to do.
Okay.
Like everything. Like again, how do I end up an elected official 2 decades later? And my exposure point to anything civic was in a school in the mid-90s in another state.
God did.
So, it's like you look at that and go like, how does all this like happen? Like it like I've been saying that I was gonna start writing a book about some like this path with the hope that teachers and community members would be like, there's more that we can do. You just gotta think about it. You can't just sit. It's not just gonna land in your lap. The state's not gonna offer it. The feds ain't gonna offer it. It's like the dream. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Bruce Wilkinson's book, The Dream Giver.
Yeah.
That book in the last chapter is what this is about. Getting to the place where there's nothing and being told begin.
Yep.
To go through a whole journey and arrive at nothing and say start.
Sheesh.
Dope.
Well, before we wrap up, unless y'all got any more questions.
Nah.
Y'all got any?
Go ahead, man.
How and who can vote for you come November 8th?
Challenging question. So I'm going to give you the easy way. If you live on the Arco Sunset Shopping Center side of Highway 12 in Sassoon, from the Arco to Emperor Drive, and live in Sassoon, you can vote.
For you.
For me. When you cross into Fairfield, this is the tricky part. From the Arco in Sassoon, if there was a street that crossed the tracks from Arco to Texas Street, you could literally see Texas Street from there. Straight up to Travis to Sunset, to include Dover Park. Sunset to East Tabor, to include Grange. H. Glenn Richardson, Meadowlark area, that small area, back to East Tabor, to the tracks.
Okay.
That's the area.
And now, say if somebody didn't catch that, they just open up, the voters book. Where could they look for your name in case that you know what I mean?
It'll say school board and you'll see my name.
Yeah, it'll be pop up. Once you register.
You won't be.
Nope.
No, not for the school board members. No.
So if you can vote, my name will be on the ballot.
Oh yeah.
If you can't vote for me, my name won't be on your ballot because you won't be in the precincts that are in my trustee area.
There we go. That's it right there.
So that's the easy way is if you see school board, that means you can vote. Because I'm the only candidate on the whole board that's on the ballot outside of my opponent.
Got you. And that's Jonathan Richardson.
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Me.
If y'all ain't caught it yet,
Jonathan
Brother
Richardson.
Jay ain't gonna be on there. It's gonna be Jonathan Richardson.
Jonathan
Jay.
Richardson.
I should have put that as mine instead of it saying incumbent Brother Jay. And they go, oh, I know him.
Hey.
I've seen some names on ballots before, and I'm like, who made this up? I took a picture one time. I was like, this is not a real name.
D's. Well, man, look, we're going to wrap things up, man. Brother Jay, Jonathan Richardson, man, thank you for joining us
my honor.
on this episode of Watch Me Develop, man. We appreciate you. Dude, your story is phenomenal,
Yeah,
and we look forward to seeing just how the Lord continues to just reveal himself through you in your future, man. Very encouraging, a lot of insight, man, and prayerfully, those that have tuned in and have watched, man, they got some insight as to, what they can do as far as being a part of the village and being a part of the community and what they can contribute, man. I think one of the biggest things that was answered is like, who is my neighbor?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Who is my neighbor? But we thank you, man, for coming in here, gracing us with your presence, gaming us up, you know what I'm saying? This is Watch Me Develop podcast. I'm Don the Baptist, 1/3, sitting here with the other 2/3, which makes one whole. Josh Bonds, John Butcher Jr., man. We here every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you guys treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. Don the Baptist signing out, reminding you to develop or die.
Develop or die.
End quote, repeat the line. We'll see you when we see you. Deuces.
Oh, yeah, brother.